When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. And in my hour of darkness, she is standing right in front of me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be.
Listening, yeah, that wasn't my intro. We mixed it up tonight. It's been a long time since I've had custom intros, but tonight's guest is a big-time Beatles fan, and I thought we would give her a shout-out with that song there, and Let It Be by the Beatles. Tonight's guest, Miss Diana Bixby, is the principal of our local elementary school here in Milford, Pennsylvania. She is the principal there, and that's where my kids go to school, too, so I got my kids' principal on the show tonight, so we better have things in order. So thank you so much for tuning in tonight, and we are live on Facebook. We're on iTunes, and shout out to our friends in Canada, Voice Ed Radio Canada, and our friend Stephen Hurley. Thank you so much for that opportunity to be on live in Canada. Today's sponsor of the show is my friend Michelle DiFilippo at 1106 Design. Michelle is the one that helped me put my book together, The Principal, Surviving and Thriving. And if you are thinking of writing a book, if you have written something and you wanted to look at it, if it's kind of there and you don't know how to get started with book writing, Michelle DiFilippo at 1106 Design is your person. Here is her contact information. I'll put that on there. You certainly can call her 602-866-3226. or send her an email, md@1106design. That's Michelle DiFilippo, md at 1106design.com. They helped me design my website. They helped me get the book on Amazon. They helped everything soup to nuts. And as Michelle said, a lot of hand-holding with the book. And it was a great process. So I thank them for sponsoring today's show. That being said, let's get started. And again, today's guest is Miss Diana Bixby, elementary school principal here in Milford, Pennsylvania. We're going to be meeting her in just a minute. One of the resources that I like to use, I find daily inspiration, I find great stuff, is at leadershipfreak.com. My friend Dan Rockwell, he was on the show a while back now. We're at show number 62. But Dan was on a while ago, and I get an email every day, a couple times a day, and Dan is everywhere. He's one of the best leadership people out there. And he had a blog post a couple of days ago, and the toughest challenges of leadership. We're going to talk to Diana about some of that. And for those that are in education leadership, we know it can be a challenge at times. So Dan wrote 12 of them. I'm going to take 7 of them. So Dan writes again, leadershipfreak.com. Check it out. And he's Dan Rockwell. Humility during success, right? My dad always used to tell me SPS, self-praise stinks. So when things are going good at your school, make sure you're pointing to others and never make it about you. It's about the kids. It's about the other people. When someone compliments you on the cleanliness of your school, make sure those compliments go to the custodians and those kinds of things. So certainly be humble and have humility during the good times. And the other part, be confident during the bad times. Be confident during setbacks. That's number 2. Number 3, stepping back so others can step up. As the leader, I wouldn't say I'm a control freak, but I certainly want things a certain way. You could ask my secretaries, and I thank them for all they do for me. But step back sometimes, right? Let others lead, let others shine, and let others do their thing. Number 4, admitting mistakes. That's not one of my challenges. I make plenty of them, and certainly saying, hey, that was my bad. I don't have a problem with that. But as a leader, sometimes people don't want to do that. They think it's a sign of weakness, or they feel they need to be perfect. That's not one of the things that I go through. Number 5, listening with the goal of learning. That is a problem for me. That is something I'm constantly working on. I hope this thing is on here. It looks like my screen froze. I hope you can still hear me. I don't know. My screen froze here. Hopefully it'll loosen up. But listening, that's something my wife helps me with. That's something that the people I work with helps me with. I'm going to touch on ADD with my friend Diana Bixby here. And that's something I've learned later in life that I have. And I view it as a superpower, not a weakness, right? How about leading change? Leaders don't just do things, they change things, leading others to change. And that could be a challenge, right? You want to create a change in your school, in your school district. You have the idea, you try to share it with others. Maybe it's during the summer and no one's there, right? And then school comes back and you want to implement this change and they come back and that's a challenge, right? So how do you create change? How do you get people on board where a lot of the work gets done in the summer? I can see Miss Bixby shaking her head here because that is a challenge. That's number 6, leading change. And number 7, learning from criticism, right? As a leader, it's important that you ask for feedback. I've been asking for Google surveys, right? Some of the stuff I've done because, and I hope this thing is working here. It looks like my screen froze. I hope you can hear me. The screen froze. I don't know what that means. No. I hope you can hear me. I don't see it moving, but we're still recording. So learning from criticism. I ask people for feedback. I ask people, be honest with me. How was that presentation? How was that received? People are afraid to go to the principal and say, you need to improve this. A couple of years ago, my friend Jenny Cornell in Port Jervis, she came to me. She said, Mr. Murata, you're doing a good job. This freshman orientation is not good enough. I am a freshman parent, first time through. I don't have enough information. I don't know what's happening to my kid. You got to do a better job. And I really remember that. And I appreciated her having the courage to tell me that. Not that I was going to bite her head off or anything, but if people don't say those things to you, if people aren't honest with you, if you're not open to receiving the criticism, they're not going to do it. And then what? You're just going to keep on going on the way you're doing, thinking it's all fine, but maybe people don't like what you're doing. So that is something that, I think is very important. 5 and 6 are the ones that I struggle with. Listening and then leading the change. I have the idea. I have the things I want to do. It's getting buy-in, getting people on board. And sometimes we know in education, there's no bonuses. There's no extras other than the satisfaction of the kids and getting that pat on the back. But sometimes there's a resistance to change because they're comfortable in what they're doing. And I struggle with that. So those are from my friend Dan Rockwell, the Leadership Freak, toughest challenges of leadership. I hope they work for you. I hope something resonated with you. But let's get started. Let's meet Miss Bixby. Come on over, Miss Bixby. I don't know what happened with this thing. I feel like I want to restart it. I hope it's going, but let's see. We're going to keep going, and if something's wrong, we'll have to do it again. Come on in here. See, now it's not on here. I don't know what happened. Yeah, this froze. This never happened before. Technology.
Can you maybe start it?
Let's try this. Let's try to undo the internet. Let's try that again.
It's going to work. I have the power.
You have the power. Diana's going to fix it. Sorry if you're listening live. Let's try that. Maybe your mom was trying to come on and blew up the system.
Let's see.
I'm thinking, there we go. All right. There you are. Let me get this out of the way. All right. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for coming on. This is Miss Diana Bixby. She is the principal at Shohola Elementary here in Milford, Pennsylvania. And she is doing great things. And I'm really excited to have you on.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
Yeah. Diana, tell our listening audience here, tell us a little bit about your background and They know you're a Beatles fan, but
Yes, I am.
tell me a little bit about your journey of becoming principal at Shohola.
To be principal at Shohola. So first I started, I was a special education teacher for 7 years. I worked a small town girl, ended up going to the DC area and taught there between DC and Philly, and then ended up coming back home for a couple years. So I was a teacher for 7 years, and I went back to school and to be a principal. I got my principal cert and supervisor of special ed cert, and I couldn't decide what I wanted to do. I still wanted to work with kids, but I really loved special ed, so I wasn't sure which end to go to, because the supervisor of special ed I knew was more paperwork and things like that. So my professor called me and said, "Hey, there's this job at Delaware Valley. It's an assistant principal for special ed." And I said, "Whoa, that's my job."
That sounded like a perfect fit.
It was.
Okay.
So I feel like, I interviewed and got the job, and I was there for 10 years at the high school, Delaware Valley, for 10 years as
I didn't
assistant
realize
principal.
it was 10 years.
10 years, yeah. And I really, I loved it, and I didn't want to leave that job. But then I felt like maybe I could make more of a difference with kids when they're younger. So that's what finally made me take the move to interview to try to be Shohola principal. Yeah. So this is my 4th year starting at Shohola.
Diana, what was it about special ed that drew you in there? What was it about, working with those kids that we know need so much?
Well, I feel like a lot of kids in special education, they're not understood. So people don't have always as much patience or understanding. And I feel like I've always been an advocate for kids with special needs. So that's really just been my passion.
Nice. And you've been in elementary school now, and Shohola is a special place for those that are here local. They know that. But what are some of the things that make Shohola a successful place? And again, not just Shohola, but what, in your opinion, what are some of the things that make a successful elementary school?
Well, I have to tell you, Andrew, Shohola was very successful before I even walked in the door. The teachers, the community, it was a great place. So I was just trying to look at how I could make it even better.
Okay.
And so some of the things that I think, there's great parent communication. We really try to work close with the parents there. And another thing, the staff, I have a wonderful staff. They're hardworking. A lot of them go above and beyond. They do, we have a reading incentive sleepover. They stay overnight, all night. These are all just they volunteer to do that. So there's all kinds of things teachers do. And I think it's just the passion of the teachers. And I feel the parents, working with the parents, that really helps.
And now putting your two loves together, tell me, are you able to identify a kid earlier, maybe kindergarten, first grade, that is struggling? And you could, because you spent so much time in secondary special education, I can see what that is. And are there earlier interventions that you're able to do now because of your expertise in that area?
Well, we're pretty lucky. We started 3 years ago. This is the 4th year, actually, I think, that we started a pilot program within the state of Pennsylvania.
Okay.
My boss, Dr. Schaefer, brought that in. We were one of only 8 schools in the whole state to start at Orton-Gillingham pilot intervention.
Okay.
And it's an amazing thing to help kids with reading. So that's been a really great thing to help kids avoid any special education issues. But I've always felt like this. There are times when kids need extra supports and need to be identified early. But K1 and 2, it's really hard. I really try to put more interventions into place, like response to intervention, and try to do as much as we can. If a child needs special education, we of course will do that. But I want to make sure we put everything into place in the regular ed classroom beforehand it gets to that point. So when they're really little, we hope to try to do other things first.
I hear a lot about RTI in the district I work in, and I know it's big at the younger levels. I know you have some other great programs there. The 7 Habits, The Leader in Me. Tell me a little bit about those programs and the impact they're having on your school.
I'll tell you, I love the 7 Habits. I'm a huge Stephen Covey fan, as I know you are too. When I first heard about The Leader in Me in 2011, actually, I was still working at the high school, but I heard of this Global Leadership Summit in Pittsburgh for The Leader in Me, which was for elementary kids. And even though I was out to high school, I thought, this is amazing. This is what we need for elementary kids, so kids are not we're not putting out fires at the high school. So we're able to be proactive, habit number one,
There you go.
and really
Shout
help
out.
the kids before, there becomes a big problem, and we're teaching them all these skills. And I remember going out to Pittsburgh, and it was just amazing experience. I was able to hear Muriel Summers, the principal that first started the Leader in Me program from North Carolina. Dr. Covey, unfortunately, wasn't feeling well. He was over the big screen, but it was just an amazing thing. And they were talking about all these young students being able to be public speaking and have confidence. And I'm thinking, I just don't know if that would work. And on the stage in front of 1,000 or more people, a first grade student comes, a fourth grade student comes, and they're speaking confidently and talking to everyone. Wow. And it was just amazing. So then I already knew it was just an amazing program. And we're very fortunate that when Dr. Bell came to the district, that he really believed in this program as well and brought it to the school. So it's just an amazing program. And what I really, people say, oh, it's a program, the Leader in Me. And Covey himself told us that he didn't make any of these things. He just kind of packaged it, in a program. So these are timeless principles that every kid and adult could use. So we're teaching kids how to be proactive. We're teaching kids to work with each other. We're teaching kids to be responsible for themselves, be accountable for themselves. It's just an amazing program. And actually this year they're bringing it into the middle school as well. And there's something in the high school that they're doing with it too. So our district is doing a lot with the 7 Habits.
Yeah, the kids sing that song.
Yeah.
You don't want me singing on the show, but they sing the song.
Me neither.
And the leadership day. You had the kids greeting us. They did the leadership walk.
Yeah.
So many things. And
there's more plans this year too for it.
I had my kids on the show here, and they talked about that. And
I saw that.
Maybe we'll have to get some more young people on here to talk about leadership, right? Maybe our listening audience would appreciate that. But that's great to give kids exposure to leadership opportunities at that age.
Right.
That's
I just
really
think
cool.
like if we had those kind of things when we were that age, and that's actually how it started. Muriel Summers, the principal who kind of created this, she went to a 7 Habits training, and she stood up and said, well, I wish I learned this when I was younger. Like, why isn't there a program for little kids?
Yeah.
And Dr. Covey said, well, if you figure it out, let me know.
Let's
go. She went home and figured it out and let him know. So that's how it started. Yeah.
Wow.
But I'm a big fan.
Yeah. Diana, I know one of the things we do, well, here, let me ask you this first. You heard the opening concept about, challenges of leadership and my friend there, Dan Rockwell. Yeah. Did any of those resonate with you? Like,
yes.
This one I'm okay, but this one I struggle with. Did any of them jump out at you that resonated with you?
Yeah. You talked about the one with change. And my first year that I was an assistant principal at the high school, I had a mentor. Really, I'm very blessed. I still am able to speak with them. He always gave me a lot of good advice. And he said, Diana, we have a great staff here, but I just need you to know they can deal with anything but change. And he said, just remember that as you go along. And, he's a little sarcastic, but I think of that, and even the best teachers, even the best administrators, change is hard for everyone. Yeah. And that's something to always keep at the top of your head. And, I did have summer ideas, and, I realized that it can't just be your summer idea. It has to go through the staff. And I learned last year that, so there's a lot of ideas, but you got to make sure that everybody's on board, and work with that. So
nobody wants this is what we're doing because I said it. And
I did have a small group that kind of worked with me, but you really need to get more staff buy-in, I think.
Takes a year.
Right. And I think you talked about ADD. You just want to do it right now. Get everything done right now. But sometimes you have to take time to make it better. So I'm learning that. Yeah.
Diana, I love the little kids. I love to come to the school and see the good things that are happening, and the classrooms, the bulletin boards, and in my mind, right, it's just little kids, right? They're hanging out, they're playing, they're having fun. But I know there's specific things that you're looking for when you walk into a classroom. At our high school, we're looking for student engagement. We're looking for the learning target. Those are some of the things that we're working on. What do you expect to see, even if it's not a full observation? But for that 10, 15, 20 minutes that you're in a room, what are some of the things you want to see?
I'm looking for the kids' engagement as well. So we do, I'm looking for a lot of cooperative learning, kids helping each other, kids working together. Classroom procedures, it's tough because when a teacher has great classroom procedures, kids they know exactly what to do, and that, it minimizes a lot of time that's lost in instruction. Also looking for, the positive attitude of a teacher. I'm very fortunate. There's a lot of great, positive, but if the kids don't see that you're excited, they're not going to be excited. So, I'm looking for that as well. So
cool.
Student engagement's big.
We try to have the teacher be a facilitator, and,
Yes.
and that saying of a guide on the side versus a sage on the
Yeah.
stage, because there are dynamic teachers, right? And they're kind of owning the room, but you want more of the kids owning it.
Yep.
And that's a challenge sometimes.
Big.
Yeah.
We actually just had, as part of our Leader in Me training, we had a training about empowering instruction and how the teachers could do, it's difficult if you're a teacher. Okay, I'm controlling the classroom. Tomorrow I'm not. That's not how it works. So we had a wonderful trainer who was really good, and he was explaining you can just do the little things. Give away control of smaller things, and it really helps let the kids, give them more responsibility. And the teachers had a lot of great feedback from me on that.
Diana, one of the things that we also deal with, right, is complaints, right? Things that come in, they're not happy about this or not happy about that, and tell me, what is how do you handle when someone has a complaint? Is it a phone call or your email? How do you handle those things? And, if you get a complaint about something going on in the classroom or something in the school?
Well, our policy is that you need to have, if you have a complaint, you contact the person that you have a complaint with.
That's a district policy?
District policy.
Oh, okay.
So I encourage parents when they call me to speak with the teacher first, or, to see what the issue is. If they can't resolve it, then they can meet with me. I do have a pretty open door policy with parents. If I'm available, I will certainly, I think parent communication is so important. And sometimes it takes extra time. Sometimes I'm there late. Sometimes I'm calling parents at 8:00 at night on my cell phone. But I think it's really important to make sure parents are understanding what's going on. So that's one of the biggest things. But the teachers are really good. Sometimes parents come right to me and I explain, speak with the teacher. And most of the time the teacher works it out. I have meetings if we need to, but I think the biggest thing is communicating with the parents.
And do you ever have to do like mediations where it's the teacher and the parent and you, and you're kind of, I have a referee shirt here.
Yeah.
If you want to borrow,
No, it's never really like that. Most of the time, it's just misunderstandings a lot of the time. I don't think that, most of the time kids just perceive things in a different way. So they go home and explain it, and maybe the teacher didn't explain it, or the teacher's perception was different than the kid's perception. So once we have a meeting, it usually works out. Once everybody sits down. But I think that's really important to take the time to do that. You can't hurry through that kind of stuff. You have to make sure that things are worked out so you have a good rest of the year.
They say I like. Now, of course, the author is escaping me, but they say the doctors that get sued the least amount of times are the doctors that listen the most and don't rush the patients out of the room.
Really?
Yeah, I forgot. I can't remember his name, but they did a study about that, and they actually recorded the sound of who did the most talking and how much time he spent with the patients.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's a good point. What you're saying,
definitely. And I've been told, you spent, it's a lot of your time, and you should cut some of that time out. But I believe that's really important, and I'm not going to change that because parents, they're we might be the experts, so we think in education, but parents are the experts on their kids, and we have to value that and recognize that.
Diana, is it a blessing or a curse that your own children are with you? You have one left in school, but right? I know my wife is there also, and it's good for me, but I know it might not be good for her at all times. What is that like when you're the authoritarian or the person in charge, but you have to have you're a mom there too? Is it good or bad that that's the situation?
I would say that most of the time it is a blessing. Because I'm a mom, I have mom guilt. So I've, had to work a lot being an administrator, and I do worry about, am I spending enough time with my kids? So it is nice that they're at my school because I don't miss their concerts because I have to be there. I don't miss things that they're doing. So that's a blessing, and I'm really happy. But we set ground rules right from the beginning. Like, you can't just do whatever you want because your mom
Start
is in the
grabbing my
school.
leg, holding on.
Yeah, you know, an example with my son, in the morning, if he forgets something in my office, he does not come back. He's not allowed to come back and get it. That's it.
Don't forget your stuff, Harrison.
Yeah, when and he does, but you know, I have parents that bring stuff from home to the office. And, you know, and that's a choice of a parent. But I told him, you know, it's like you left it at home and you're not getting it. So they can't just come to the office, or they're like any other student. So, but, you know, it is tough sometimes if there's an issue or something. And as a parent, you know, I want to work one way, but I'm the administrator too. So that can be tough. Yeah, really tough. But I'm glad, though, that I am able to share on that experience with them for the most part.
Give them a shout out, Harrison and Bella. Your mom's doing a good job, and appreciate her being on the show here. Diana, some of the stuff outside of school now, you know, it's going on in your life. So soon it's going to be Dr. Bixby. Is that right, Tom?
Yes, I'm going to be. Yes, that's going to be very soon.
Tell me about that journey, and is it worth it? You probably don't know the answer. Is it worth it yet? Because you're not there yet, but you know, you're getting your doctorate. That's a big deal.
Yes. Getting my doctorate was on my bucket list, so for years, and that was just something I was going to do. And it's been a really challenging experience for me. But I think, again, another mentor that I had in school, one of my professors, the professor that actually got me to Delaware Valley, he said, you don't have to be a genius to get your doctorate. You just have to be able to persevere through all the obstacles. And every time that I'm ready to call it quits, I think of Dr. Connolly and I think, okay, I just have to persevere. So I've had a lot of challenges. The classes were not easy, but you know, you get it done. But I think part of my prioritizing everything, being a mom, being an administrator, being a wife, being a student, working on the dissertation always falls to the bottom of the list. So it's taken me a little longer. I had some challenges with my chairperson and other things. I have a new committee, a great committee now, which is good.
Okay.
So I did finish all my research this summer.
What is your dissertation about? Do you have
my
thesis there?
It is about zero tolerance. What is the future of zero tolerance discipline policies? So we hear a lot of things about alternatives to zero tolerance, and in the research, there's a lot of things that talk about. It's more quantitative, like, you know, schools, administrators, and cops. They do everything wrong for students, and they don't do anything but kick them out of school and expel them. And those are things that happen to students. But I, as an administrator, I see how hard, and I know you can relate with this, that administrators and teachers and counselors all work to help at-risk kids and to help things that have. So I'm trying, mine is a qualitative study, talking with administrators, trying to figure out all of the proactive things that they're doing. And, you know, zero tolerance is changing, I think, and just getting all that information. So right now I'm in the process, I've collected all my data, and I'm in the process of just analyzing that. And hopefully by the spring, I'll get it done.
We might have to have you back on to kind of celebrate that. And I'd like to hear that, because I know that's one of the 7 habits, you know, is being proactive and positive. And I remember the story of the police, right? You know, being positive and giving positive tickets for good behavior and all that kind of stuff. How about Miss Bixby? You know, you mentioned your mom, principal, getting your doctorate. You know, there's a lot there. But I see a bike rack on the back of that minivan, and, you know, relieving stress, right? Keeping your health. Tell me about the bike riding and how you work that in, and is that something that you really love? Yeah,
I do love to bike ride. I actually, when I was in the DC area, I did a century rides, the 100-mile rides, and I actually did an AIDS ride where I collected about over $4,000 for an AIDS charity in DC. They flew my bike down to North Carolina and Raleigh, and I rode my bike from Raleigh to DC in 3 days.
Oh my God!
So it was 110 miles a day, and they like set up these tent cities, and you know, and actually 2 weeks before that whole entire event, I did a century ride, and I was a block away from Catholic University where I started the century ride, and I got sideswiped by a car and hurt my knee and my hand. I know. So by the time I came into DC, I was literally like, I had ice like rolled on my leg, and it was funny. But I do love biking. It's a great stress reliever. Yeah. So, I'm just starting to get around here, like the different bike trails, and it's fun with the kids too. And when we go to Cape Cod, like biking, that's one of my favorite things to do there too.
A lot of hills up around this area, though.
Yeah, there are.
I like the flat.
I don't mind the hills.
You like the hills?
Yeah.
I don't like the hills.
You bike too, right?
I go on the flat parts. Yes, the flat parts.
Yeah.
Another thing I know you really enjoy is the Beatles. We opened we opened the show with that.
Mm-hmm.
Where did that love of the Beatles come from?
Yeah. Interestingly enough, I told you that not from my parents, because they were more 50s type of people. But in high school, my boyfriend was a good guitar player, and he was learning some Beatles songs, and he was playing the song, and I really loved it. Here Comes the Sun. So I asked to borrow the cassette tape. I'm showing my age here. Old school
alert.
So I put the cassette tape in my Mustang, old school.
I'm talking about.
And he's like, I need it back the next day. And I'm like, all right, don't worry about it. And it broke. You know how it eats
the tape.
And so I went to the mall the very next day, bought a new tape, and Abbey Road, bought the tape, and then I just put, how you used to put the tape on the cassette tape. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I love all of these songs. And then I just bought another one and another tape, and I ended up loving it. That was really how it came through. It ended up, I took, when I was studying in Scotland, I took a pilgrimage to Liverpool. So I walked down Penny Lane listening to the song. I saw Strawberry Fields. I saw where John and Paul first met at the church picnic. I saw where they lived, the Cavern Club. Like, it was so amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Really cool. So, yeah.
That's awesome. In the book, and again, I'm having a brain freeze with the author here, but the concept of 10,000 hours, right? You got to do something 10,000 hours before you get good at it. And he told the story of the Beatles when they first formed. They went to Germany to play, and it was a 24-hour rock and roll club, and they would play 8-hour sessions on and off. So they played sometimes 16 hours a day. And you think about the time that you put in to be good at something, and that's tremendous. But that's cool.
Really cool.
And the Beatles have, it's more than just music. Their message of love and kindness and just the good things in life.
Yep, I'll give a shout out. On our wedding day, I told you we had a lot of Beatles themes to it, but on our wedding day, my brother-in-law gave a wonderful speech, and one of the things he said was, a good man once said, all you need is love.
You're getting teary-eyed. You're getting choked up.
It was, I miss my brother-in-law, but it was very nice, but that's really the message. It's true. Like, at the end of the day, that's all you need is love. So.
Yeah. Well, and you think about the special teachers, right? To go back to the people, you could just tell they love their job. They love the kids. And we think about our favorite teachers that we had, right? They just, Maya Angelou, tell you, right? It's not what they say or do, it's how they made you feel. When you feel that love,
My shout out, Mrs. Fuller is my fourth grade teacher, Mrs. Fuller. She's one of my favorite teachers. Yep. I had a lot of them, but
that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Dana, before we get to rapid fire, that's a favorite of the program. I got a blank check here, and if I were to give you a blank check, no unions, no budget, no restrictions, no anything, what would be the school you would design? And tell me a little bit about that dream.
So no federal and state regulations.
The Diana Bixby School, period. Dr. Bixby.
Yeah. I really think, unfortunately, we have so many kids now coming to school, and I'm sure you see the same thing. It's not the same. They're not coming to us from the same type of home. So I really believe that all teachers should be trained in trauma-informed care and learning how to work with kids who have gone through trauma. Trauma could be something small or big, but it really is. It affects students. It affects their brains, and I think that's huge. So I would really focus on that with the teachers. Other things that I would do is, obviously student-centered learning, and make sure it's so hard to have time, with all of the state directives and federal and mandates. It's not the teachers. I'm sure at my school, the teachers would do a lot of great creative things, but that the students are working on things that they're really passionate about and learning more about that. And what does it take? So it would definitely be that. There would definitely be social workers at my school, in the elementary school, and in the high school, and that kids are learning on coping skills. Because unfortunately, I think with technology, there's just so many kids are sitting behind the screen now. They're not able to interact as much. And parents with good intentions are trying to do everything for their kids. So kids aren't able to really deal with a lot of conflicts. Yeah. So I really think teaching kids conflict resolution and coping skills are really important. So I would probably just really with my background and working in residential treatment and different alternative schools would probably be more leaning towards alternative school, that type of.
We'll get that check written after the show.
All right. Yeah, that would be great.
All right, Diana, rapid fire portion of the show. You're doing a great job here. Okay. Last book you read?
The Energy Bus. I talked to you about that.
John Gordon.
Yep.
John, if you're listening, we want to have you on the show.
Oh, that'd be good.
He also wrote The Power of Positive Leadership, right? You're doing that with your group there?
Yes. Dr. Bell, actually, that's what we're reading with our administrative team, The Power of Positive Leadership. And it really is, it's a great book. And I saw The Energy Bus, through there, and because he also wrote that. And it was just really, really great book.
Last movie you saw?
The last movie I actually saw was, I'm a huge Adam Sandler fan.
Oh, yeah.
So cool. Billy Madison, okay. I have to laugh.
But, the old one? Or is there a new one?
No, it was the old one. But because we don't really watch a ton of movies. Yeah. But I would say when I think about that, The Greatest Showman was probably the last great, and I know you're a big fan of that.
Fan. You don't want me singing.
I love that. Yeah, that was a great movie.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. If we scroll through your iPhone, I think we know the answer to this. So after the Beatles, who would be your favorite artist or type of music?
Interestingly enough, I like a lot of different kinds of music, but Tom Petty would be next. He's my.
You got to see him in concert.
I was lucky enough to see him last summer, or 2 summers now ago. Yeah, that was great.
Would you call that folk rock? What would you call Tom Petty?
I guess maybe classic rock, but right. I love Tom Petty. He's a great artist, and I also like old school rap. So I got to tell you, yeah, I did.
I want to hear those announcements rapped one day. That would be a big hit. We'll film that.
Oh, we'll go through.
Your biggest professional pet peeve?
Well, that's a good one. Negativity. When you when no one's able to, you can't get past. It's just everything's negative.
My friend Dr. Gilbert says to replace the word "but" with "and."
Oh, I like that.
Just take it. Don't even say it. Take it out. Your best strength as a principal?
I would think. I think that my experiences are a big strength because working with kids from different cultures, different backgrounds, all things like that, and being in the high school, so I know what's expected. So I think that's a strength, and I think it's actually in your book. I really. I do get the name Bleeding Heart Bixby, but I treat every kid like they're my own. I really feel like, is this the right thing? Is this what I would want for my kid? So
gotta get you shirts, BHB, Bleeding Heart Bixby.
And you know what?
You gotta love kids.
Joke, but I'm proud of that. That's fine.
Something that motivates you.
Something that motivates you. I think my family, spending time with my family definitely motivates me.
Nice. Nice. Last purchase under $100 that has had the greatest impact on your life.
I'm thinking about this. Part of my, like you were asking about stress reduced earlier, I do like yoga and meditation. So essential oils I've gotten into a little bit. And Thieves essential oil, I've been rolling it on my feet since August and my family, and we have not gotten sick at all yet.
Your feet?
Yep, you put it on your feet because the pores are on the bottom of your feet. They're the biggest pores in your body. And I swear, I'm like, that is ridiculous. I've never heard of that before. And I'm always sick, always, as soon as we go back to school. And I have not been sick yet. And my kids haven't either.
I saw an advertisement for those patches.
That's gross. But no, this is like, just roll it on. It's been making it. I swear,
you'll have to show me. I'm a foot guy. We've had a podiatrist on the show. In your opinion, 3 most important qualities of a leader?
Gee, there's a lot here.
There's a lot. You only got 3.
You have to be trustworthy. I think you definitely have to be positive. And what's the, you have to be open, be willing to you listen to your people, or be, have an open door policy with your staff and
Open-minded, yeah. Listening. Yeah.
Open-minded.
Okay,
definitely.
I like it. If you could go back in your first or second year in principal and do something different or not have done something, what would that be?
I don't know if it's one thing specifically, but I think I definitely would have had more confidence. Because, as a perfectionist, I'm always, this might not be right. Just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it. You know enough. You have the background. Do it. And if it's a mistake, I'm willing to admit it's a mistake. And you just have to have the confidence. And I think that I didn't have as much as I should have had when I first started.
Yeah. Well, the elementary was new, right? There's a lot there. But okay, that's a great answer. You're being honest and open. Short-term personal goal, 3 to 5 months.
Finish my doctorate.
Dr. Bixby here.
And hold me accountable to that one, I'm telling you.
All right, mark it down, listeners. Yeah, you're going to get a doctorate.
Yeah.
Long-term personal goal, 3 to 5 years.
Long-term, okay. Whew.
That house in Cape Cod sounds nice.
Yeah, that house. Yeah, it's on my vision board.
Yeah.
It's on my vision board. So it might take a little longer. The kids are still in school. I have a longer professional goal after the kids get out of school. But I think the next thing after I finish my doctorate, I want to write a children's book, something I always wanted to do. So I think definitely that's next on my list. About more inclusion, acceptance of others, just working with kids, because I think kids they don't know what they don't know. So they're scared of things they don't know, and trying to help kids being.
You don't know what you don't know.
Right. So, kids just sometimes they're not always nice to other kids, but they don't understand other kids. So I have some ideas, and that's my next goal.
You're going to segue me into, I want to mention our sponsor again. But again, someone like Diana that's thinking about, maybe Diana has a conversation with Michelle DiFilippo, right? I have this idea. How do I get started? Editing. This is a great company, Design 1106 Design. My friend Michelle DiFilippo. This is her book. Check it out. She'll send you a free copy. And contact her at www.1106design.com. And that's. I think a lot of people think about writing a book, but they kind of. How do I do it? Where do I get started?
Right.
Call Michelle, and she will help you out. She is a pro 1106 design. So good luck with that. We have your quote here, and you mentioned it at the wedding. Yeah, All You Need Is Love by the Beatles. And a shout out to Brother Joe in my high school religion class. We listened to that song, and I remembered that. And our book recommendation is the book that you're reading now, The Power of Positive Leadership by John Gordon. We want to have him on. And The Energy Bus. Is The Energy Bus a kid's book or an adult's book?
He does have a kid's book with The Energy Bus, but The Energy Bus was actually his first book. I think it may be in 2011. It's like an older book. I didn't hear of it, but it's really a great thing about the power of positivity and teams. So,
Cool. Well, grab that thing there, Diana. We're going to play your song there. Grab the iPad. We're going to play your song in and out here. But I do want to thank you for coming on. You did a great job. Was it as bad as you thought it was going to be?
No, it wasn't.
Did I beat you up?
No, not too bad.
Was there a question that you were waiting for me to ask that I didn't?
I don't think so.
No? I think it's raining again. You hear that?
Yeah. It is.
Wow. More rain and humidity. How about that? Well, we're going to end the show, everyone. This was Education, Leadership, and Beyond. This was Diana Bixby. You did a great job.
Thank you.
And we're going to get your song here again to end the show. So thanks for tuning in, everyone. If you're enjoying the show, please leave me a positive review on iTunes, certainly comments on Facebook, and I'm on Twitter at Andrew Murata21. And I just got on Instagram. I know you're on Instagram too.
I'm trying to start it.
Did you like something? I saw you like something. Yeah. Murata Andrew is my Instagram. So check it out. We'll get your song back on here. There we go. So we're going to sign off, everyone. Education, Leadership, Beyond. Thank you so much for tuning in. Diana Bixby. Go out and change the world, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Look, they were listening to San Gimignano.
Oh, my God. God.
It's late in Italy, isn't it? It's gotta be midnight.
Oh my God.
1 in the morning.
Oh yeah.
All right. See you, everybody.